Thank you everyone who is on the call today for joining us and for all of you who will be watching the replay. My name is Teresa Lucati-Bildick. I am the local taxpayer advocate with the Fort Lauderdale Taxpayer Advocate Service Office. And with me today on the presentation is Miguel Cardona. Miguel?
Hi, I'm Miguel Cardona, and I work for the Low Income Taxpayer Clinic of Broward County. And I'm a qualified tax expert at the Low Income Taxpayer Clinic. And I will be providing this presentation along with Teresa.
So good morning, or good afternoon, depending on when you're watching this. Today, we are going to be presenting some information to you as you get ready to file your taxes. So these are tax tips that we would like to share with you so that you have a smooth, when you file your tax return, everything goes smoothly. And we're going to discuss some errors to avoid. Next slide, please. And I am sure that everyone is eager, everyone is thinking about the nice refund that you're going to get. And we know that the filing season is starting next week. But before you jump the gun and you file, let's go over some tax tips to avoid common errors that will, in the long run, delay the return processing, sometimes by many, many months, and make sure that your tax return is ready to go so that when you do file it, it will go through, will be accepted by the IRS, and you will get your refund without any issues. So let's get started. Next slide, please. All right, our first tip is, if you receive W-2, if you had a job and you worked, or any other type of income, for example, if you're an independent contractor and you receive 1099s, always wait until you receive all of your forms. I know that sometimes you may be tempted to start getting, looking for your last paycheck stub, but your employer has until January 31st to send your year-end wage-related statements. So if you had a job, they have until January 31st. That means that you may not be receiving them until early February. Be aware that your last paycheck stub does not always match your W-2. And it could be missing some crucial information that is necessary for you to file correctly. So please don't try to file your tax return using your last paycheck stub. And confirm with each of your jobs that you worked in 2021 that they have your current address, and make sure that when you do receive it, review the W-2, review all the statements that you receive and make sure they are accurate, that you agree with it. If you don't, contact them immediately and get it corrected right away. Don't file. You can file before it's corrected, but that may cause you to have to amend your return later on. So we want to make things go as smoothly as possible. If you are unable to get your year-end income statements from your employer, you can call the IRS and they can assist you, but you have to wait for the IRS to receive it, and then they can provide you a copy. And you can always reach the IRS at 1-800-829-1040. Next slide, please. Why is it important for you to report all your income? IRS Integrity and Verification operations, what do they do? The IRS is going to compare the income and withholding reported on your tax return to Forms W-2 and other information returns that they receive. So you receive a copy and the IRS receives a copy. They want to ensure before they pay out any refunds that the return is prepared accurately and can be processed. And this helps identify fraudulent returns before refunds are issued. So again, if you miss any W-2s or you don't report the correct amount of withholding, that is going to delay your tax return. Let me give you an example. For example, you report $300 of federal income tax withheld on your return. Your employer, however, reported only $30 of federal income tax being withheld, which is listed on your W-2. The difference can cause your refund to be delayed as it doesn't match what was reported to the IRS. So if the 300 is really correct, you're going to need to contact your employer and make sure that they issue you a corrected W-2 before you file. Otherwise, your return will be delayed by the IRS. Your refund will not be paid because what you are reporting on your return does not match what the IRS received. Next slide, please. And I'm going to turn it over to Miguel.
Double check that your information is correct for you, your spouse, and your dependents. Check name spellings, taxpayer identification numbers, for example, Social Security numbers, individual taxpayer identification numbers, or adoption taxpayer identification numbers, dates of birth, addresses, and your bank account information for accuracy. As previously mentioned, if any of these items are incorrect or any of the statements are incorrect, make sure that you contact the payer that issued the statement so that you can get a corrected document. You must have a valid Social Security number for all your dependents before filing, or that may not only delay processing of your return, but in certain instances, it can disqualify you for some refundable credits like the Earned Income Tax Credit, which I will discuss in a few minutes. If you have a new baby or a new dependent, make sure that you apply for a Social Security number with the Social Security Administration or for an individual taxpayer identification number with the IRS. To help prevent identity theft, you can apply for an identity protectional personal identification number or an IP PIN. If you choose an identity protection PIN, it's a 6-digit number that prevents someone else from filing a tax return using your Social Security number or individual taxpayer identification number. The IP PIN is known only to you and the IRS. It helps us verify your identity when you file your electronic or paper return. The fastest way to receive an IP PIN is by using the online Get an IP PIN tool. The IP PIN tool is generally available starting in mid-January through mid-November. For more information about IP PINs, go to irs.gov. Next slide, please. Check for all credits and deductions for which you may be eligible. Review the tax form instructions to ensure you claim all the deductible items and credits for which you are eligible. A lot of the eligibility requirements for these items often change yearly. and the forms and formulas used to calculate them can be complex to complete. Generally, family-related credits and deductions are the areas we see the most errors, and one of the main reasons after income and wages mismatch that cause return processing slowdowns. So follow the instructions carefully, double check your entry information, and always recheck your math. Next slide, please. Family-related credits. Here are some possible family-related credits for which you may be eligible. You can type in credits and deductions for individuals in the search box of the IRS website, irs.gov, for more information. Let's review just a few of the more common family-related credits. Again, review the tax form instructions, or if needed, consult a tax professional to ensure you correctly claim all the deductible items and credits for which you are eligible. Be aware that irs.gov has several interactive tax assistant tools, online tools that will help you determine if you're eligible for a particular credit or deduction and for how much. Many will also tell you what form or schedule to claim them on and link you to more detailed instructions for how to do that. Next slide, please. Okay, let's talk now about the 2021 third economic impact payment, or the recovery rebate credit. If no economic impact payment was received or it was not the correct amount, you must now claim it as a recovery rebate credit on your Form 1040 or Form 1040 SR. Information about the economic impact payment, sometimes called stimulus payments, can be found on the links shown on the slide. You can type in these links on the IRS website to get more information. The economic impact payment in 2021 was $1,400 or $2,800 if married filing jointly for 2021, plus $1,400 for each qualifying dependent with a valid Social Security number issued by the Social Security Administration before the due date of their return, including extension, or adoption taxpayer identification numbers issued by the IRS. The third payments differ from previous economic impact payments. Income phase-out amounts changed. Payments begin to be reduced for individuals with adjusted gross income of more than $75,000 or $150,000 if married filing jointly. The reduced payments end at an adjusted gross income of $80,000 for individuals and $160,000 for married filing jointly. People with adjusted gross incomes above these levels will not receive any payment. Payment amounts are different. Most families will get $1,400 per person, including all dependents claimed on their return. Typically, this means a single person with no dependents will get $1,400, while married filing jointly with two dependents will get around $5,600. Qualifying dependents expanded. Unlike the first two payments, the third payment is not restricted to children under 17. For the third payment, the child must be under age 19 at the end of the tax year or under age 24 at the end of the tax year if the child was a student who is younger than the taxpayer, or any age if permanently and totally disabled. Eligible individuals will get a payment based on all of their qualifying dependents claimed on their return, including older relatives like college students, adults with disabilities, parents, and grandparents. If you did receive your full economic impact payment during 2021, you should have received a notice 1444C showing the amount received. If you misplaced your notice 1444C to find the amount of the economic impact payment you received, early this year, the IRS is scheduled to send letter 6475 that will also show the total amount of the third economic impact payment and any plus-up payments received, like the advanced child tax credit that Teresa will soon talk about. You can go to irs.gov and search for Get Transcript. This can be viewed online or sign up to view your IRS account online. Search for View Your Account Information to find the sign up page. You do not need to complete any information about the recovery rebate credit on your 2021 Form 1040 or 1040 SR if your economic impact payment totaled the full amount for which you qualify. If you did not receive your economic impact payment, but you received a notice 1444C saying that a payment was issued to you, go to irs.gov, type in EIP frequently asked questions for instructions on how to trace the payment. You must request the trace immediately, as it takes time for this process to be completed. If it is not completed before filing your return, it will delay processing since the information will not match what the IRS records show. However, if you did not receive any payment at all in calendar year 2021, or the amount was not correct, but you qualify, you must now claim it as a recovery rebate credit on your Form 1040 or 1040 SR. There is no provision in the law that will require individuals who qualify for a third economic impact payment or an additional payment based on their 2020 or 2019 information to pay back all or part of the payment if, based on the information reported on the 2020 return, they will have qualified for a lesser amount. Next slide, please.
Diane,
Yes.
I'm going to turn it over.
Hi. Okay, thanks, Teresa. Hello, everyone. I'm Diane Himmelsteve, and I'm the local taxpayer advocate in St. Petersburg, Florida. And thank you for having me today. The advanced child tax credit, it has information available from the irs.gov website. And you can go to irs.gov and type in the search bar credits-deductions, and it'll bring you to a link for the advanced child tax credit payments in 2021. The American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 increased the amount of child tax credit and made it refundable for tax year 2021 only. It's $3,000 for qualifying children between the ages of 6 and 17 at the end of 2021. It's an amount of $3,600 for qualifying children age 5 and under at the end of 2021. The credit for qualifying children is fully refundable and now includes children who turn age 17 in 2021. Next slide, please. Taxpayers may have received up to 50% of their child tax credit in advance monthly payments. And those were issued by the IRS between July and December of last year. The increased child tax credit is phased out for taxpayers with a modified AGI over certain limits. Taxpayers had the option to unenroll in receiving these payments via a self-help tool on irs.gov. And they would claim, you will claim or reconcile these payments on Form 1040 via Form 8812. Know that there is an advanced child tax credit eligibility assistant on irs.gov. It's a self-help tool. However, currently there's no credit calculation tool for the credit amount to claim on their tax return. Like the third EIP recovery rebate credit, this credit will also be able to be claimed or reconciled if you received any advance payments on the Form 1040 federal tax return schedule 8812, which is credits for qualifying children and required to attach to the tax return. Letter 6419 to provide a total of advanced child tax credit payments that were distributed to an individual during 2020. There, I'm unmuted. I'm not sure where you lost me.
Diane, if you could start with letter 6419, I think that would be a good place to start.
All right. Sorry for those technical difficulties. I'm not sure if it's my signal or the platform, but in January, this month, the IRS is sending out letter 6419 to provide the total amount of the advanced child tax credit payments that were dispersed to individuals during 2021. It's vitally important that folks keep that letter to reconcile the advanced child tax credit with your tax records, because you'll need to refer to that letter when you file your 2021 return. If folks come to you and say that they did lose the letter, you can still see the total amount of the payments dispersed on either the child tax credit update portal or your online tax account. Know that both of these systems do require that you verify your identification. Another alternative, in my opinion, might be to request a tax account transcript. And you can go to irs.gov, advanced child tax credit, frequently asked questions. And I believe the search link has the abbreviation ADVCTC as its search function for help in obtaining those figures. If the amount of your total of your advanced child tax credit payments, you can claim the remaining amount of your child tax credit on your 2021 return. If you receive a total of advanced payments that exceeds the amount of child tax credit that you can properly claim on your 2021 tax year, you may need to repay to the IRS some or all of the excess payments. For full details about the child tax credit in 2021, I highly recommend going to irs.gov and see the associated 2021 child tax credit and advanced child tax credit payments frequently asked questions. And the link is obviously it was shown on the previous slide. But again, just go to irs.gov and search CTC. And also the instructions for the form 8821 should be very helpful to you. And next slide, please. Okay, if the total monthly payment amount reported on the form 8812 doesn't match the amount that was shown on the letter 6419, this is certainly going to delay the processing of your return. And if I were to look into my crystal ball, I would imagine that you and I are going to be having frequent conversations during this filing season about the holdup of some of your clients' refunds. So when completing the form 8812, you must enter the total amount of advanced child tax credit payments that the taxpayer and their spouse, if they're filing jointly, receive for 2021. Again, the letter 6419 is the best source of information for the amounts to include on that line. And I have to reiterate that the processing of the tax return is going to be delayed. You know, this normally happens when folks are trying to file their tax return as early as possible to get their refund as early as possible. But the net effect of this is that their refund is delayed, sometimes for months. If you're missing the form 6419, the tax return instructions should more information, or again, IRS.
Okay, let's talk now about the Earned Income Tax Credit, or EITC. Let's do a quick refresher on EITC. It is always important to keep these EITC requirements that you see on the screen in mind, as a lot of tax return errors involve claiming this credit and the related filing status incorrectly. Not only does earned income credit, but other taxable income also figure into the adjusted gross income claimed on your return. The adjusted gross income must be the same as or less than a specific income limit each year. This varies from year to year. Income limits also change based on the number of children being claimed and the different filing status selected. However, the easiest way to determine if you're eligible to take the Earned Income Tax Credit is to use the EITC Assistant tool on irs.gov. Just type in EITC Assistant in the search box and it will take you to the page. The EITC Assistant is also available in Spanish. By answering questions and providing basic income information, you can use the EITC Assistant to find out if you're eligible for EITC, determine if your child or children meet the tests for a qualifying child, and estimate the amount of your credit. You, your spouse, and anyone being claimed for EITC must all have Social Security numbers that are valid for employment before the due date of the return, including extensions. If you don't have it before you file, you may not be able to go back and claim it later. For 2021, the American Rescue Plan made several significant enhancements to the Earned Income Tax Credit for 2021, including a temporary expansion of the so-called childless EITC. Overall, the law made the credit more widely available by broadening the age range for eligibility. For filers claiming the credit without a qualifying child, the minimum age to claim the credit was lowered to 19. For former foster youth or qualified homeless youth, the minimum age was reduced to 18. And for specified students, the minimum age was lowered to 24. Additionally, the law eliminated the maximum age to claim the credit. Filers no longer need to be under age 65 to claim the credit without a qualifying child in 2021. If you have foreign income that is reported on Form 2555, this will disqualify you from receiving EITC. For filing status, married filing jointly, head of household, qualifying widower, or single, married filing separately must meet eligibility requirements under the special rule in the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. You must be a US citizen or resident alien all year. If you or your spouse, if married filing jointly, were non-resident alien for any part of the year, you cannot claim the EITC unless your filing status is married filing jointly. You can use that filing status only if one spouse was a US citizen or resident alien and they choose to treat the non-resident spouse as a US resident, making the worldwide income taxable. For more information on this, you will need to get publication 519, which is a US tax guide for aliens, and it is available on the IRS website. As we just mentioned, there are instances where you may still qualify for this credit even if you don't have a child or if you have a grandchild living with you. So see if you meet the rules for those without a qualifying child, or if you have a qualifying child in special circumstances. This information is available on irs.gov. In a moment, we will provide some good resources for you to refer to if you are considering taking this credit. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a brief recap of the Earned Income Tax Credit information for 2021. You have to show proof of earned income, have investment income of $10,000 or less, have a valid Social Security number, meet the adjusted gross income for your filing status, be a US citizen or a resident alien all year. Realize that there are consequences that can occur for incorrect EITC claims. Those can include delay of the EITC part of your refund until the error can be corrected. If that happens, the delay can take up to several months. Denial of all or part of your EITC. If denied, you must pay back the amount of EITC paid in error plus interest. You may need to file a special form, Form 8862, information to claim refundable credits after disallowance to claim EITC again in the future. If the error is because of reckless or intentional disregard of the rules, the IRS could ban you from claiming EITC for the next 2 years. Now, if the error is because of fraud, the IRS could ban you from claiming the earned income tax credit for the next 10 years. Last but not least, know that if you claim the earned income tax credit or the child tax credit on your return, by law, neither the IRS nor the Taxpayer Advocate Service can issue your refund before mid-February. However, generally, those refunds do start to get released around the first week of March. You will need to check irs.gov for information on when those refunds will be released exactly. Please do not call the IRS or the Taxpayer Advocate Service phone lines or the low-income taxpayer clinic prior to this timeframe. Looking for your refund on the IRS website is the most efficient way. Next slide, please. Common EITC errors. While some of the rules regarding claiming EITC have changed recently, like the Social Security number requirement before filing that we just mentioned, here is something that has stayed constant over the years, each year. We continue to see the same types of errors around EITC eligibility. Improper EITC payments remain a huge issue every year. Here are some common errors. Claiming a child who does not meet the residency and relationship requirements. The biggest dollar amount of errors is someone claiming a child who is not their qualifying child. Review the eligibility options carefully to ensure the child's relationship to you is one of the eligible options and determine whether the child lived with you for more than half the year. The next big error identified is incorrectly reporting income or expenses, particularly Schedule C, which is where business income is generally reported. The third most common error is filing a single or head of household when married. So make sure you claim the correct filing status. Last but not least, we see errors causing the name and Social Security number to not match with IRS and Social Security Administration records. This continues to be a problem. So watch for spelling and double check the number. Another part of the problem is someone else may be using the child's Social Security number. You need to ask yourself, did the child live with anyone else during the year, or is there someone else who may claim this child? Visit irs.gov for more information of the most common errors to avoid any error with the earned income tax credit. Next slide, please.
Before I start talking about other credits and deductions, I just want to remind everyone, earned income tax credit is very important. And even if you receive your refund, the IRS could come back in a couple of years and audit your tax return and request proof that the child or children lived with you for more than 6 months. So any information that you have, especially if the child lived with someone else other than you for part of the year, you want to keep information that proves that your child that you are claiming for EITC lived with you. So make sure you hold on to that information. All right, some other credits and deductions that are available. There's a page on the IRS website that lists different credits and deductions that are available. We're not going to go over all of them. We are going to go over a few of them. Next slide, please. The first one we are going to go over is the credit for other dependents. there is a tax credit available to taxpayers for each of their qualifying dependents who cannot be claimed for the child tax credit. And the maximum credit amount is $500 for each dependent who meets certain conditions. And you will be using Form 8812 to determine if you can claim the credit. So, for example, what type of dependents would be eligible for you to claim this credit? These would be dependents who are over the age of 17. Remember when we talked about the child tax credit, we said that the child has to be 17 or younger in order for you to claim them for the child tax credit. If they're over 17, they don't qualify for the child tax credit, but they may qualify for the credit for other dependents. Also, if you have a dependent who does not have a social security number, but they only have an individual taxpayer identification number, or what we call an ITIN, if they only have an ITIN, then they may qualify for this credit. Or you may be caring for parents or other qualifying relatives that you support throughout the years. Or you may have a dependent living with you that is not related to you. So these are all types of people that may qualify you for this credit. There's a phase out that begins when your income is $200,000 or more, and that amount is $400,000 or more if you file a joint return. You can claim this credit if you claim the person as a dependent on your tax return. You cannot use the dependent to claim the child tax credit or additional child tax credit. So basically, there's no double dipping. If you already claim the dependent and for the child tax credit, you cannot also claim them for this credit. And the dependent is a U.S. citizen, national, or resident alien. And you can claim the credit for other dependents in addition to the child and dependent care credit and the earned income credit. So those are separate. So it's okay to claim this credit in addition to the other two. And again, always use the instructions for Form 8812 to help you determine if you are eligible for this credit or not. Next slide, please. The next one is education expenses. And you will need a Form 1098-T, which is the tuition statement from an eligible educational institution to claim education expenses. Schools have until January 31st to provide you this form. And sometimes it'll be mailed to you and sometimes it'll be provided to you electronically. If you haven't received it by early to mid-February, you'll need to contact your institution to get a copy of it. We've seen many cases in the past where this credit was claimed when a tax return preparer completes a return, but the taxpayer never actually attended school. So double check any and all credit claimed on your return, especially if someone else is preparing it for you. And do it before you sign it. Don't let them e-file it for you until you verify that everything on the return is accurate. And this is something that is very commonly claimed on the tax return. And if you don't have a 1098-T, it will delay your refund. Next slide, please. Miguel?
Yes, let's talk about charitable contribution deductions. This year, there is something new where a charitable contribution deduction for individuals who do not itemize can be claimed for donations up to $600. Ordinarily, individuals who elect to take the standard deduction cannot claim a deduction for their charitable contributions. The law now permits these individuals, people who do not itemize, to claim a limited deduction on their 2020 federal income tax return for cash contributions made to certain qualified charitable organizations. Nearly 9 in 10 taxpayers now take the standard deduction and could potentially qualify to claim a limited deduction for cash contributions. So for 2021, individuals, including married individuals filing separate returns, can claim a deduction of up to $300 for cash contributions made to qualifying charities during 2021. The maximum amount deduction is increased to $600 to merit filing jointly. There is also a 100% limit on eligible cash contributions made by itemizers in 2021. Subject to certain limits, individuals who itemize may generally claim a deduction for charitable contributions made to qualifying charitable organizations. These limits typically range from 20% to 60% of adjusted gross income and vary by the type of contribution and type of charitable organization. For example, a cash contribution made by an individual to a qualifying public charity is generally limited to 60% of the individual's adjusted gross income. Excess contributions, however, may be carried forward for up to 5 tax years. The law now permits these individuals to apply an increased individual limit up to 100% of their adjusted gross income for qualified contributions made during calendar year 2021. Qualified contributions are contributions made in cash to qualifying charitable organizations. As with the new limited deduction for non-itemizers, cash contributions to most charitable organizations qualify, but cash contributions made either to supporting organizations or to establish or maintain a donor advised fund do not qualify. Nor do cash contributions to private foundations and most cash contributions to charitable remainder trusts. Unless an individual makes the election for any given qualified cash contribution, the usual percentage limit applies. Keep in mind that an individual's other allowed charitable contributions deductions reduce the maximum amount allowed under this election. Eligible individuals must make their elections with their 2020 Form 1040 or Form 1040 SR. The IRS reminds individuals and businesses that special record keeping rules apply to any taxpayer claiming a charitable contribution deduction. Usually, this includes obtaining an acknowledgement letter from the charity before filing a return and retaining a canceled check or credit card receipt for contributions of cash. For donations of property, additional record keeping rules apply and may include filing a Form 8283 and obtaining a qualified appraisal in some instances. For full details on how to apply the percentage limits and a description of the record-keeping rules for substantiating gifts to charities, use publication 526, available on irs.gov. For more details on how to claim these contributions on your 2020 return, follow the form's instructions. Next slide, please. Okay, let's talk now about sometimes confusing credit, which is a premium tax credit. The premium tax credit, also known as PTC, is a refundable credit that helps eligible individuals and families cover the premiums for their health insurance purchased through the health insurance marketplace. For 2021, the law now allows for expanded eligibility for the premium tax credit by eliminating the phase out for households with annual income above 400% of the federal poverty line, and now provides that taxpayers who receive unemployment compensation or who were approved to receive unemployment compensation for any week in 2021 are generally eligible to claim the credit. If you did not know, in certain circumstances, you may also qualify to get advance payments of this credit. And if you do get the benefit of advanced credit payments in any amount, you must reconcile the total credit you're eligible for with the amount of your advance credit payments for the year on Form 8962, Premium Tax Credit. It is very important that you file this Form 8962 if claiming the premium tax credit. We have seen many backlogs due to the taxpayer's failure to include this Form 8962 with the return. So to avoid any type of delays, make sure that if you claim the premium tax credit, you file this Form 8962. The marketplace will send you a health insurance marketplace statement, Form 1095A, generally by January 31st of the year following the year of coverage. This form shows the amount of the premium for you and your family's health care plans. This form also includes other information such as advanced credit payments made on your behalf that you will need to compute your premium tax credit or to reconcile advanced credit payments on Form 8962. Form 1095A does not get attached to the tax return, but is needed to complete the Form 8962. So for this credit, you must meet certain requirements and file an individual return, Form 1040 or Form 1040 SR or NR with Form 8962 attached. You can visit the links on the right side of the slide. You can type in those links on the IRS website and get more information. Similar to the year and wage statement example we mentioned earlier, filing your return without reconciling your advance payments or when claiming the premium tax credit may delay your refund, and in this case may affect future advance credit payments as well. As with any missing statement, the IRS will correspond with you to secure the completed form before they can finish processing your return, which can take time. If you also receive Form 1095B or 1095C, which are unrelated to a marketplace, use the questions and answers on irs.gov for information about how these forms affect your tax return. There are options if you don't receive the Form 1095A in the mail. If you purchased coverage through the federally facilitated marketplace and you set up a healthcare.gov account, you can get a copy of Form 1095A health insurance marketplace statement online from your account. If you purchased coverage through a state-based marketplace, you may be able to get an electronic copy of Form 1095-A from your state-based marketplace account. Visit your marketplace's website to find out the steps you need to follow to get a copy of your Form 1095-A online. If you have not received Form 1095-A at all, and no copy is available online, or you received an incorrect Form 1095-A, you should contact the marketplace from which you received coverage. If you receive a corrected or voided Form 1095-A after you filed your return, you may need to amend your return. For more information on what you need to do with the corrected or voided Form 1095-A, see Corrected, Incorrect, or Voided Forms 1095-A on the IRS website. Next slide, please.
Okay, thank you. Before filing, again, gather all of your records first. Make sure that you have documents that support every amount of income, deductions, or credits appearing on your tax return. Develop a system that keeps all important information together. This might be a software program for electronic records, or more simply, a file cabinet for paper documents in labeled folders. Having records readily at hand makes preparing a tax return, I'm sure, as you know, much easier. Again, any income document that shows federal income tax was withheld must be attached to the tax return if you're filing by paper. If you're filing electronically, see the software provider's instructions. Remember, your last paycheck is not guaranteed to be an accurate statement of your annual earnings, and it could be missing some information that you need to file an accurate tax return. We sure saw a lot of this during the last filing season, and it certainly did delay processing of refunds. So be sure to use the payer's final year-end form or statement, whether it's a W-2 or a 1099. If you received unemployment compensation this past year, know that some states just don't mail the 1099-G for government payments. In January, some people who received unemployment benefits in the prior year will get a Form 1099-G from the agency that's responsible for paying the benefits. The agency will automatically either send a hard copy, or if the agency doesn't mail the form, folks will need to visit the agency's website to get an electronic version of the form. The unemployment compensation, income, and withholding should be input on the appropriate line on their federal tax return, and that's generally the amount of compensations in box 1, and if I recall correctly, the amount of federal income tax withheld is in box 4. More information is available if you go to IRS publication 525, which talks about taxable and non-taxable income. Also, taxpayers who received a federal tax refund in 2020 might have been paid interest. Refund interest payments are indeed taxable, and they must be reported on federal income tax returns. In January, the IRS will send the Form 1099-INT to anyone who received interest of $10 or more. When claiming certain credits, just as we described, a lot of them require a specific schedule or form to be completed and included with the the income tax return. For each credit or deduction that's claimed, check the form's instructions for when an additional schedule's required to be completed, and if that schedule needs to be submitted with the tax return or when filing. Next slide, please. So, need help preparing the federal tax return? Here are some resources and information. You can get free help if you meet certain income qualifications from trained volunteers. The IRS Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, VITA, and tax counseling for the elderly, which is TCE, both offer free tax help for folks who qualify. VITA sites offer free tax help for people who need assistance in preparing their own return. Generally, it includes folks who make under $57,000 or people with disabilities, or folks who have limited English speaking capabilities. The TCE program offers free tax help specifically for folks who are over 60, and they do specialize in questions about pensions and retirement related issues that are unique to seniors. Before going to a VITA or a TCE site, you can review Pub 3676B for the services provided, and you can pull up that publication from the IRS.gov website. Again, it's 3676B. And finally, you can use the VITA or TCE locator tool on IRS.gov. You just need to put in your zip code and it'll refer you to sites that are local to you. If you want to get the help of a professional tax return preparer, that is an option too. You could do your own research online, or the IRS provides a tax professional locator too. It's called the Directory of Federal Tax Return Preparers with Credentials and Select Qualifications. That's simple to say. Anyone can be a paid return preparer as long as they have an IRS Preparer Tax ID number, which is a PTIN. Tax return preparers, as we all know, have differing levels of skill and education and expertise. The information on our Taxpayer Advocate Service website, as well as IRS.gov, there's a link called Choosing a Tax Professional, explains the various tax return preparer credentials and qualifications, and also talks about how to avoid unethical, or what are termed ghost return preparers. There's also information on making a complaint if you've been financially impacted by a tax return preparer's misconduct or improper tax return preparer practices. Next slide, please.
E-filing. Be aware of tax software that imports prior data automatically. We recommend electronically filing your return. It is faster, more accurate, and secure. If you have been hesitant in the past to switch over from paper, now is the time to make the move. There are many choices when it comes to using personal tax return filing software programs like TurboTax, TaxAct, H&R Block, TaxSlayer, or any other similar product. If you don't qualify for free tax help, or you just want to complete the return yourself, most programs will walk you step by step through completing the form with questions and can be done on your personal computer. Some can be used on mobile phones. Please note, if you're seeking assistance from a volunteer income tax assistant, VITA Place, there is a new website for Florida residents, which is fltaxesonline.org. So if you go to the IRS VITA locator, you may not get as many choices as you will get if you go to fltaxesonline.org. That's a new website for this tax season. One caution, when using this type of software, if you're electronically filing, if you're using the same software program that you used last year, you will want to check that only the current year information is present and that prior year data didn't pre-populate the fields with prior year information. So double check your figures before submitting your return. For example, if in 2019 you reported wages from your W-2 form of $25,000, and then in 2020 you had W-2 of $30,000 from the same employer, you input your current W-2 with wages of $30,000, and the prior year data may roll over for an additional $25,000 wages, which will cause a delay in processing the refund as your income is now overstated. Direct deposit or direct pay. Any of the tax return filing options we just spoke about include a paper tax return. It allows you to choose to have your refund directly deposited into your bank account. It is free to you, saves the government money, and is the fastest way to get your money. You can even split your refund into 1, 2, or 3 or more financial accounts and buy savings bonds also. Just go to irs.gov and search using the words direct deposit to get information, including information on how to open a bank account if you don't already have one. Those without a bank account can learn how to open an account at an FDIC insured bank or through the National Credit Union Locator tool. Veterans should see the Veterans Benefits Banking Program for access to financial services at participating banks. Also, be aware that the IRS provides several different ways to pay should you owe a tax balance. One of them is called direct pay. Use this secure service to pay your taxes for Form 1040 series, estimated taxes, or other associated forms directly from your checking or savings account at no cost to you. All payment options can be found on irs.gov. Pay menu tab. Just look at the main menu bar to find this page. You can also review our Get Help Paying Taxes pages too. Next slide, please. If you have to, you can still file a paper return. However, the error rates on paper returns are very high. Simple math errors are common, so double check your numbers. In addition, with the pandemic still affecting both the IRS and the Taxpayer Advocate Service, paper tax returns are some of the last items to get processed, which will delay any refund due you much longer than if you e-file. If you're filing a paper tax return, be aware that the IRS recently changed a few of its return mailing addresses, along with PO box addresses. Review the form's instructions or go to irs.gov, see the link on the slide, type in that information on the in the search box of the IRS website to get information about where to file your return. Taxpayers or tax professionals can use certain private delivery services designated by the IRS to meet the timely mailing as timely filing paying rule for tax returns and payments. This information is available also on the IRS website if you type in private delivery services. For other types of payments being mailed to IRS PO boxes, be aware that the IRS is closing several individual PO boxes beginning January 1st, 2022. Payments mailed to these locations after January 1st will be returned to the sender. Those PO boxes that have closed are located in San Francisco, California, and Hartford, Connecticut. Additional information can be found in publication 3891, logbox addresses for 2021. Last but not least, make sure that you sign your return before sealing the envelope. Next slide, please.
Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about language and accessibility information. The IRS realizes, and even Taxpayer Advocate Service, we realize that not everyone is comfortable in English. And some people need assistance they cannot read normal writing. They may have accessibility, they may not be able to read it. So if you need instructions or notices in your language, or you need interpreter help, or you need other IRS or Taxpayer Advocate Service communications in a different format, we're going to spend a couple minutes discussing how to do that. Next slide, please. So the IRS has multilingual resources, and we realize that tax information can be hard to understand in any language. And it is even harder to understand if that information isn't offered in the language you know best. So the IRS is now translating tax resources into more languages. Currently, IRS.gov offers basic tax information in English plus 20 other languages. Just look for a listing of languages near the top of each IRS.gov webpage and online tools, then click on the link for the language you need. You will also find many IRS tax forms, schedules, publications, and social media channels in multiple languages. Taxpayer Advocate Services website resources are currently limited to English and Spanish. And don't forget, the low-income taxpayer clinics are also available to represent low-income individuals who have a tax dispute with the IRS and provide education and outreach to individuals who speak English as a second language. Services are provided for no more than a nominal fee. And most of the LITCs here in Florida do not charge for their service. The only time is if they will represent you in court and there are court costs, then they will charge, you are expected to pay that, but otherwise the LITCs in Florida do not charge. Next slide, please. Okay, now you want to request a language preference. That is new. You can request to receive certain IRS information in the language you prefer by filing Schedule LEP, which stands for Request for Change in Language Preference. and you would file that schedule with your individual tax return. So again, there are 20 languages you can choose from besides English. Just complete the form and file it with your individual tax return. The form is available in English and Spanish on the IRS Forms and Publication site. Again, just go to irs.gov and then look for forms and instructions. If you electronically file Schedule LEP with your tax return, you don't need to file the paper version of this form. So if you're filing your tax return electronically and you attach the electronic version of this schedule, don't have to worry about mailing it in. And the IRS is updating this form, so the 2021 version may look slightly different than the screenshot you see right now. Next slide, please. In addition, the IRS has what is called over-the-phone interpreter services. So for assistance in English and Spanish, you could just dial 800-829-1040. But if you need assistance for all other languages, you can call 833-553-9895. The IRS can also provide an interpreter using over-the-phone interpreter services for most of its taxpayer-facing functions, including taxpayer assistance centers during IRS examinations, and that's both in person and for any questions over the telephone related to a correspondence examination. It's available when dealing with an IRS representative discussing tax collections and for appeals meetings and conference calls. So if you need an interpreter to help you understand, ask the IRS employee to use the over-the-phone interpreter service option. OPI service is available 24 hours a day, 7 days per week, and is free of charge. And in Taxpayer Advocate Service, we use this as well. If we contact a taxpayer and we realize that they do not understand us very well, we will ask them what language they speak, and we will connect to an interpreter that speaks their language fluently. Next slide, please.
Accessible IRS tax products. Available options for obtaining accessible tax products. If you need a tax product in an alternative format, you can download it from the accessible forms and publications page on irs.gov or request paper copies in Braille or large print by calling the tax form telephone number at 1-800-TAX-FORM, which is 829-3676. Next slide, please. IRS notices and letters. You can request tax notices and letters in Braille or large print. If you receive a notice or letter, but would prefer to have it in Braille or large print, you have the following choices. First, beginning on January 31st of this year, you can use the form 9000 Alternative Media Preference. Attach the form to your return or mail it separately to the IRS. Or second, call the tax assistance telephone number at 1-800-829-1040. Once an election is processed, the IRS will send a standard print copy of a notice with the alternative media copy and any attachments enclosed with the written communication in the alternative format as well. Be aware that the IRS already sent letter 9000 ENSP in Spanish, also alternative media preference, between September 15th and October 1st of 2021 to anyone who claimed the additional standard deduction for blind on their tax return within the last 2 years. The letter provides details about the new Form 9000 and includes information about the various ways you can submit your election to the IRS as shown on the slide. Next slide, please. IRS Alternative Media Center. There is now an accessibility helpline to answer questions related to current and future accessibility products and services available in alternative media formats. For example, Braille, large prints, or any audio alternatives to taxpayers with disabilities. If you need accessibility assistance, you can call 1-833-690-0598. Assistance for multilingual taxpayers will also be available on the helpline via the over-the-phone interpreter service. The staff working on this helpline will not have access to taxpayer account information and cannot answer tax-related questions. If you are needing help with tax law, refunds, or other account-related issues, you should visit Let Us Help You page on irs.gov instead of calling this number. Next slide, please. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, so this concludes the pre-filing season awareness portion of the presentation. Now Diane and Teresa are going to give some information about the Taxpayer Advocate Service Office.
I'm sorry, Miguel, there's one question in the chat right now. It says, Mr. Cardona, if a taxpayer receives money as a gift, say under 15,000, will that money count towards the total income calculations for purposes of determining the amount of monthly tax subsidized, taxpayer qualifies for?
It depends. So there are many considerations to determine, to answer that question accurately, but I'm going to give you my phone number so that we can see your case, your situation in particular, to be able to answer that question accurately, because there are many considerations that affect the accurate answer. So this is my phone number, and I'm going to give you my email address as well. So if you have any questions about anything that was discussed or anything that was not covered, you can either email me or just call me, and then we go about your particular situation.
Okay, were there any other questions at this point?
No, that was the only question.
All right, thank you. We're almost done, but we want to spend the last couple of minutes letting you know how about Taxpayer Advocate Service and what Taxpayer Advocate Service can provide, how we can help the general public. So the first, if you can move on to the next slide. I want to share that Taxpayer Advocate Service has options for self-help. And we have a website, which is just taxpayeradvocate.irs.gov. And there's a multitude of self-help information on many tax-related topics. What you see on your screen is just part of what is available. Many of these links provide step-by-step instructions on how to work the problem through with the IRS. Our website is designed to help taxpayers and tax professionals alike, and parts of it are available in Spanish as well as English. You can even view it on your cell phone or any mobile device. The website screenshot on the slide shows the main Get Help page. As you can see, it shows a search box section. I don't know if you can see it here, but there's a section that starts with what if and a by category, by alphabet option. So it will help you search for your topic any way you want to search for it. Not shown is a section for our digital tools called estimators. They can help you with determining eligibility for certain healthcare related tax credit and estimate the total credit you may claim. Lastly, at the bottom of the page are 2 buttons that will take you to a listing of your rights as a taxpayer and to a Contact Us page. Once you choose the topic closest to the issue you may have, you will see information laid out in the following format. What do I need to know? What should I do? How will this affect me? Wait, I still need help. Each topic will have a resources and guidance section that's going to give you a list of all the resources available that relate to that issue. You will see a taxpayer rights section that describes your rights as a taxpayer, specifically related to the issue. And then lastly, there's a related content section that provides additional information on the topic and related articles and links to other related Get Help topics. Our site also has information on free or low-cost services for low-income and elderly taxpayers. So if you have a federal tax-related problem, you can start here. You can go here even if you simply want to learn more about a certain topic before filing your tax return. Next slide, please. You may be eligible for our help, meaning tax advocate service, if you cannot resolve your tax problem through normal IRS channels. We also help taxpayers whose problems are causing financial difficulty or significant cost and cannot wait for normal channels. And we all know that the IRS and Taxpayer Advocate Service, we are far behind what we normally would be because of the pandemic. There's been much greater demand for services. Our help is free. It's free for everyone. It doesn't matter. We are not income-based. So you could be a multimillionaire, but you need our services. Taxpayer Advocate Service will assist you. And again, it's not only individuals. We can help businesses. We can help nonprofits. If you can't resolve your tax problem through normal IRS channels, you can come to us. And we also have a new online tool that can help you determine if it's time to call us for assistance. And it's on the Taxpayer Advocate website, and it is called, Can Taz Help Me With My Tax Issue? It is called the Taz Qualifier Tool, and Taz is just short for Taxpayer Advocate Service. And I am going to turn it over to Diane, who is going to finish us out. Diane, are you still there?
Thanks, Therese. Yeah, hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, great. We do urge you to check out Taz's website or sign up to follow us on social media to get some updates about tax help and the latest tax related news. We also want you to know that as part of Taxpayer Advocate Services outreach and education activities, the organization does host problem-solving day events locally in each state. During these events, we invite folks to bring tax account related information such as notices that they've received from the IRS and any other document And we have employees and caseworkers available to review and potentially resolve those situations on site. You know, if we can assist you right there and then, we will. If not, and you qualify for help, we'll open a case and we'll work with you until the issue is resolved. And we do make announcements about those events through our social media platforms and other communication vehicles. Thank you for attending. We certainly hope that the information that we shared today is helpful. And thank you all for joining us on the call today.
Does anyone have any final questions before we end the presentation? And as you can see, this slide includes where you can find Taxpayer Advocate Service on social media.
There are no more questions.
Well, with that, I want to say on my behalf, thank you very much for participating and listening to us today. Hopefully you got some good tips that will serve you before you file your tax return this year and help avoid errors that will delay the processing of your return. Miguel and Diane, any final words before we end the presentation?
I would like to thank you everyone as well.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me, both of you.
Thank you.